guys, welcome back to my channel where I talk about the NWSL, women's soccer, just soccer, only soccer. So, the US women's national team roster for the Australia friendlies have been released, and out of all the rosters, this has to be the most controversial. I'm saying that with air quotes. It's kind of controversial because this roster features almost no veteran players like Alex Morgan, Tobin Heath, Megan Rapinoe, Kelly O'Hara, etc. Also, if you hear any noise in the background, it randomly started raining really hard. Anyway, a lot of the veteran players opted out of these Australia friendlies. One, because they're away, and meaning the US would have to travel to Australia. And two, these games fall on Thanksgiving weekend, and players like Alex Morgan want to spend time with their families. And speaking of Alex Morgan, I saw some idiot on Twitter saying something along the lines of, "Sorry excuses, Morgan wants to spend holidays with Charlie. The games are on November, not December." This person said that after someone told them Alex wanted to spend Thanksgiving with her family. And honestly, dude, seriously go fuck yourself. If Alex or any of the national team players opt out to miss some friendlies because they want to be with their family, then more power to them. Going back to the veteran players, Kelly O'Hara opted out due to family obligations. I heard it was because she's attending her sister's upcoming wedding. Tobin Heath has a minor injury and wasn't on the roster for Arsenal's most recent game, which was today. Arsenal won 5-1. Kristen Press, mental health break. She opted out of the previous friendlies. Alyssa Nair, Julie Ertz, Sam Mewis. They're still out with injuries sustained over the past months, but most likely they're receiving rehabilitation. Also want to add, for those of you who don't follow the NWSL, when it comes to Nair, Ertz, and Mewis, they haven't been on the roster for any of their club matches due to those injuries. Not sure why Megan Rapinoe opted out. And as for Crystal Dunn, she opted out of the US-South Korea games, and I'm not entirely sure if she did the same here. However, despite players choosing to opt out of the friendlies, it still doesn't stop some fans from saying the roster was disrespectful to the veteran players. You know, I don't think the veteran players mind, especially if they have other things going on, and especially if they want to be with their families. Honestly, I think the vets are probably thinking, "Thank God I don't have to sit on a long flight to Australia." Yeah, you go, Sophia Smith, Bethany Balser, Lynn Williams, Midge Purse, Morgan Weaver, and Sophia Huerta. Also, have fun babysitting Becky Sauerbrunn, even though almost everyone on this team is like in their mid to late 20s, with Sophia Smith probably being the youngest at like 21. Anyway, all jokes aside, there's nothing wrong with this roster of young players right now. They need the experience, they need to get adjusted to the national team. And once again, these games against Australia are friendlies. These friendlies are meant to see where the team is at. Friendlies are great opportunities to test out new and young players to see who is going to fit with the team. Friendlies are meant to find strong areas and weak areas within the team and see what needs to be developed and worked on, either as a team or individually. Friendlies are just friendlies. This is a great opportunity to see how these young players handle a more challenging team like Australia. They're going to be challenged, they're going to be pushed, they're going to be pressured. They're probably not going to do too well, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the US loses. But honestly, better now than a few months before the World Cup. Another thing I want to know is, if not now, then when is it a good time for Vlatko to start bringing on these younger players? If not now, when are we supposed to start developing the younger players? When it comes to the national team, Vlatko and the coaching staff have to start looking to the future of the national team. Because the reality of the situation is that a lot of the other national teams, like Germany, the Netherlands, Spain, England, Australia, they're developing their teams and their younger players. If we want to be one step ahead of them, we have to work with the younger players and get them adjusted. Do I think Vlatko is going to completely scrap and get rid of Tobin Heath, Alex Morgan, Kristen Press, Kelly O'Hara, and so on, like a lot of people seem to believe? No, that wouldn't be a good idea. The veteran players have the experience and the younger players don't. Plain and simple. The younger players are probably going to be running around like chickens with their heads cut off if they don't have the veteran players to have the veteran players to guide them. Most likely, when the January camp starts up, Tobin Heath, Alex Morgan, and Kristen Press, and so on, will be at the camp with the younger players. When that happens, most likely, all the players invited to the camp will be fighting to earn their spot on the national team. At the end of the day, it comes down to player performance. If a younger player is outperforming a veteran player, then that younger player deserves their spot on the national team. Whereas if a veteran player is outperforming younger players, then that veteran player deserves their spot on the national team. Hopefully, we're going to see a combination of younger and veteran players on the national team, but that will once again depend on how each individual player is doing. Anyway, that is all I have for you guys today and tonight, and I'll see you all in the next one. Later.